Do you think binging, restricting, it's because I physically want it, or is it psychological?
Binging and restricting is all psychological. The reason for that is you've got the idea in your head that the only possible way you can lose weight is by restricting. And that's just a limited belief. You believe that the way in which you're going to lose weight is by eating less and moving more. And that's where the problem started in the first place. And as a byproduct, you take it to the extreme, because that's what we do as human beings. We think the less I eat and the more I move, I'm going to get to where I want to get to quicker. But that works directly against your biology. So it's actually that belief that you have that is affecting the result which you're trying to get. So that's not physiology, that's your psychology directly getting in the way of you trying to get to where you want to get to.
But what if I already lost weight before by eating less, so why can't I just do it again?
It might have worked before, but have you ended up where you wanted to get to?
No.
Therefore, it's a different vehicle. And you have to ask yourself, it might have worked before, but what worked? It wasn't the binging that worked, it was the restricting. And we often think that one is the problem and the other is the solution. We think that the restriction is the solution and the binging is the problem. It's actually the restriction that is causing the binge in the first place. That's where people get misaligned. They think, I just need to stop myself binging, but they don't realize that this is being directly caused by the restriction on the other side.
If, because of these years of binging and restricting, it's lowered my self-worth about myself, what would you say is the number one way that I can fix my relationship with myself that will eventually fix my relationship with my body?
If we start learning why you were doing that in the first place, and also understanding that it's not your fault, it's just your belief system's got you stuck in this cycle, and your ego holds so tightly onto those things which are part of you. And actually part of you is binging and restricting. Part of it is actually you failing. This is what people don't understand. It actually becomes deeply ingrained in your identity and your belief system that you are someone that tries and someone that fails. So to take that away from you actually feels like you are losing part of yourself. But like they say, you have to lose yourself to then find yourself again. You have to let old parts of you die to allow new parts of you to grow. And it's actually through saying goodbye to that part of you, realizing it doesn't serve you anymore, that's going to allow you to then step into the new version of you where we can start growing that sense of self-worth.
Okay, even if I foundationally understand all of this, like I've read books, I've watched podcasts, and I understand I should have positive self-talk, but whenever I do it, it just feels false and it never really lands. How do I overcome that?
Because positive self-talk is never going to work. You're trying to go from one end of the extreme to the other, and it does feel like you're lying to yourself. So whenever somebody comes to me that's like, I need to start talking more positively about myself, I'm like, you need to just stop talking negatively. And a large part of that is neutralizing the way you feel. So instead of going, I feel shit, I feel like this, instead of going, no, you're not fat, you're beautiful, you're slim, when in reality you're not going to believe that. You need to just slowly go from that negative end of the continuum, slowly go more neutral. It's not, you're not fat. It's maybe the story you've been telling yourself your whole life is a lie. Maybe you are better than what you think. Maybe this body, which is fat, has actually just simply been protecting you. And that's the way people need to look at fat, is it's not, that fat is just trying to protect you. Your body's been holding onto that fat as a life source. And that's factual. That's not any positive self-talk, nothing. So instead of looking at your body, going, why is it doing this? Why does it look like this? Why does it look shit? You actually have to acknowledge your body's been protecting you your entire life. So even just by acknowledging that, you start to neutralize those negative thoughts, and you can probably feel it in yourself when I'm saying that it goes, like you kind of feel a little bit lighter because you've just been blaming your body your entire life, despite the fact it's been doing that job. And by slowly moving it up this continuum, that's when we can start. We don't need to get to positive. Like, we really don't need to. People that love their bodies, they don't think positively about their body all the time. They just don't let it bother them. They don't walk around thinking, I look amazing, I look great. They walk around just not thinking that this is a hindrance to them, so they can express themselves authentically. And that's where people go wrong. They think, I need to feel $1 million all the time. It's like, no, you just need to not be held back by this thing. And that comes through neutralizing the thought rather than just trying to be false positive.
Could you give me like a tactical example of like a negative thought and how you neutralize it?
Well, a negative thought would be, I feel fat, I don't like this part of my body. For a lot of women, it's, I don't like my stomach. And you have to ask yourself, like, is by constantly criticizing that part of you serving you? That's the first thing. You go, no, that's not serving me. So instead of going like, oh, I have a flat stomach, I have abs, how about we just sit there and go, well, my body's been holding fat around that area to protect itself for a long period of time.
But again, is that really going to shift my body for me to speak like that? Because, aren't I the one who's causing it to be fat by me not moving enough, or maybe me not, of me eating too much? So how would neutralizing the way I talk help my body lose fat?
By neutralizing your body, it's like talking to a child. If you wanted a child to do what you wanted it to do, you certainly wouldn't criticize it all day, because it's going to go into its shell and it's going to stop responding. But by being nurturing and being kind, you say to that child, like, okay, we're in this position, but we can get out of this. I understand why you feel that way. You come to this place where you're like, okay, now let's move forward in an actively positive way, like actually out of a place of more acceptance and love. You can't move from where you are. And this is like anything. You have an argument with someone. You can't move on from that argument until you come to a place of acceptance and forgiveness. You have to imagine it the same with yourself. And even if you were to sit down with somebody and go, oh, like, we've got this disagreement, you're never going to leave that disagreement as friends or in a relationship or as anything with somebody if you fail to actually forgive them. Obviously, you just keep going round in circles. And that's what people keep doing. They keep going round in circles with themselves because they fail to accept, forgive, and they sit in these cycles of shame, of guilt, of anger, and it never helps them change. You have to learn to look at it almost as if you are somebody else. Being kinder to yourself is what's going to allow you to move beyond this point and grow out of a place of devotion and not just shaming and forcing yourself to change because you feel like you need to.
You're saying that a lot of people are punishing of themselves and, it's stuck in this cycle. How would I be able to identify if I'm part of that so I know then how to solve that?
Look at the reasons why you're doing things. So what are the thoughts that precede the action? Are you forcing yourself out of bed in the morning because you feel disgusting because you had some food last night? That's operating out of a place of shame. Are you waking up going to the gym because you go, I ate some good food last night, I'm going to channel this into a productive weight training session? You go, that's not shame. So it's asking yourself, why am I doing something? And people don't ask themselves the question, why am I doing this? You need to take a step back and look at everything you're doing, the way that you eat, your relationship with food, the way in which you go to the gym, the way in which you move your body, and asking, is the reason I'm doing this good? For most people, it's not. You're stuck in this shame cycle. I'd say most people are. If you're not in a body that you like, it's more often that it's because you're in that shame cycle. So it's looking at, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? How do I feel before that? And how do I feel after? And it's usually a feeling of relief after when you're in the shame cycle, rather than like I feel good. It's like oh, thank God I've done that. Like I can finally feel good in myself again.
So I've identified I'm in a shame cycle. Then how am I solving that?
Again, first, acknowledging that it doesn't serve you. This is the first thing. Like, you can't move beyond something until you can clearly see it. And then until you can clearly see it and go, this doesn't serve me anymore, you still can't learn to move beyond that. So the first step is actually realizing the problem that you have. And then it's going, how can I move beyond that? You do that, and then you have to start evidence yourself that you are this new person. So clearly define, what is this new version of you that you want to step into? How do they operate? How do they think? How do they feel in their body? And then every day looking and writing down physically evidence that you are becoming that person. That's how you break that cycle.